3 members, not plus
This
myself.
conference will now be recorded.
We have 3 members of the council plus myself present, 2 members on the telephone, so all members are present at the meeting. Item number 3, citizens' comments. We have one from Chevelle Lopez. Is he on the mic out there?
We want to go ahead and start with the other.
Okay, we'll get the others first. And then Mr. Lopez. You have several.
Yes, sir, I do. This comment is from Scott Barlow at Cecil Motors. I wanted to express my thoughts to you after reading the paper this morning about the potential addition to more restrictions being considered for Hondo. As our governor and president talk of easing restrictions and trying to get the county and state back to work, I see our city moving in the opposite direction, at least perception-wise it appears that way. My thought, which I am hoping catches on universally, is that we need to quarantine, mask up, restrict movements of the population that is at high risk, not the other 95% of the population that is at low risk. Nursing homes, people with underlying medical conditions, are the ones that are vulnerable to this virus. Most of the population that has had the virus had no symptoms or cold-like symptoms. We need to protect our vulnerable population but not economically strangle the other 95% of our population. My father fits into the vulnerable part of the population, so I do have a dog in this fight. And I am delivering groceries and making sure he has everything he needs and he is not leaving the house, which makes sense to me. But why would I deprive young, healthy citizens the ability to make a living? We need to replace the word essential with minimum risk. Making a living and providing for your family is probably the most essential thing a person can and will ever do. Thank you, and you have my support.
Hold it a minute. We're in the meeting pertaining to the Small Business Awards, not the declaration. So we only need comments pertaining to the Small Business Award program.
Okay.
No citizens' comments on the...
These are all about the declaration.
Okay. Item number 4, discussion, consider applying for small business COVID-19 relief program. Who's going to present that?
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council.
And Michelle here?
Yes.
And Michelle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, maybe it's not working. Here we go. This is not working. So the next slide says we'll do a quick look over the other EDCs. We'll look at an overview. We'll talk about the grant programs that we put together. We'll look at our financials. We'll have some feedback, and then we'll go into some questions. And as we all know, the small businesses are the backbone of our community. And so Hondo is a business-friendly community. And programs like this shows that we're here for the Hondo businesses during good times and in bad. So the Hondo Economic Development Corporation is here for Hondo businesses. So we'll go to the next slide. Right off the bat, we started looking at other economic development corporations and what other towns were doing. We looked at towns incomparable to Hondo, towns that were a little bit bigger, towns that were smaller. And so as we did our survey, we, again, reached out to more than 50 different EDC corporations, and we found that 5 of them at that point were doing grant programs. Since then, we've seen more take on grant programs. There's several that do loan programs, and when I talk about loan programs, some of these towns are doing loan programs that start at $25,000 up to over $1 million. And then the rest that we found, we're doing pushing the CARES Act, which is the Small Business Administration piece, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Emergency Advance Program, the SBA Express Bridge Loans, and the SBA Debt Relief loans as well. You know, one thing that I really want to talk about those other economic development corporations, the amount of outpour that, you know, we researched with other towns and how grateful they are for these grant programs that they've implemented in their towns. So, you know, we'll talk about the overview here. Again, we were tasked to brainstorm to bring something to our community. So we put together this grant opportunity, and we did it with knowing that this is a time of need. We're in a crisis mode. So we called this one Keeping God's Country Working Grant Programs. And then again, this is to assist businesses who have been affected by this entire crisis. So again, as you recall, on March 19, 2020, City Council declared our town as a disaster. And again, this resulted in a lot of our small business being affected by this. So what we did was we broke it up in 3 different parts of the grants. The first one is going to be called Keeping God's Country Working Grant. The second one is the Hondo Emergency Co-Marketing Grant. And the last one is the Hotel Tax Payment Grant, Emergency Deferral Forgiveness Grant. So the first thing we had to do was put a task force together.
Hello?
And I'm not finished there. Well, there, pretty much. Let me finish there.
That's,
You know, excited. How many bags?
So if you're listening in, can you please mute your phone?
You don't have enough for the other side.
Please mute your phone.
So the first thing we did was put a task force together, and we did a mixture of professionals within the city of Hondo, and we also took one county employee. So again, our City of Hondo Mayor, Mr. Danner, will be on the task force. We'll have a representative from City Council, Mr. McAnally. Of course, our City Manager, Kim Davis. We'll have the Economic Development Corporation Board of Director President, Bobby Ainsley. We'll have the Hondo Area Chamber of Commerce Executive Director, Heather. We'll use our Hondo Independent School District Assistant Superintendent, Rosemary Mattis. We also added Medina County Economic Development Director, Stephanie Blanks. And then, of course, our attorney, and then, of course, myself, Genevieve Flores.
You may clean this part.
Please mute. Kim, would you email them and ask them that?
Go to the next slide. Can you hit the next slide, Miguel?
Somebody just tell them.
Okay, and so here's what the program is going to look like. This first grant program, again, like we stated, you know, this provides just a limited financial assistance to businesses who have been severely impacted by the Stay Home, Work Safe ordinance that we have in place. And this is for businesses that have 1 employee up to 25 employees. And so who is that business? That business who are eligible for this is a retail storefront, food and beverage, personal care such as barbershops, nail salons, and spas, automobile maintenance, the education training, health and wellness, art galleries, and small manufacturing businesses. National chains, financial institutions, RV parks, apartment complexes, home-based businesses such as Tupperware dealers or Avon dealers, permanently closed businesses, and nonprofit organizations are not eligible for these grants. All these grants will not exceed over $10,000. And so, real quick, about who can apply. It's businesses employing between 1 to 4 employees are eligible for grants up to $2,000. 5 to 10 employees are eligible for grants up to $5,000. And applicants employed between 11 and 25 employees are eligible for grants up to $10,000. And so we go to the next slide. Miguel, it's not working. And just like anything, you know, we had to put a criteria around it. And again, as we did research with other towns, they put criteria around what those businesses could be applying for. And so a small business wishing to apply for this grant must meet this following criteria. And I know some of it's going to sound repetitive, but this is the best way that we found that was working for other towns. So the first thing is physical and publicity access located within the city of Hondo and city limits. Experienced or projected a decline in revenue in our employment as of April 1st, 2020. You have to be in good standings with the city of Hondo regarding your licensing and permits. You must be registered with the Texas Comptroller's Office as a sales tax revenue generating business. Engaged in activities that are legal under city and state law. So what can you use with this grant money? What can you use, what can you pay with this? You can use it for your rent or your mortgage, employee support, your utilities, you lost me, purchase of supplies, purchase of COVID-19 supplies, additional expenses as a result of increased cost from suppliers, other businesses needed as approved by the Small Business Task Force. So that is the first grant. So the second one is the Hondo Emergency Co-Marketing Grant. Again, because of where we're at in society, we know how much social media impacts businesses. So this grant is for tourism-related businesses. This grant is to encourage to promote their businesses to existing customers and attract new customers outside of Hondo. This is for online marketing, costs up to $50 per month for a maximum of 2 months. And again, this is because of how we've seen the impact on social media. Applications for this marketing program will be accepted through August 2020.
Muted. Muted.
Mayor, can we ask questions as she's running?
Think so? Think so.
Unmuted.
So again, the businesses must be registered within the Hondo city limits.
Mayor, can we take a 5-minute recess to fix technical, please?
Okay, we're going to go into recess for 5